Hi, this is Matt from the Intergalactic Herald, just doing my weekly Star Atlas Week in Review podcast. This is going to be number 26. All the articles, videos, and things that I mentioned here is actually on Intergalactic Herald in News Recap number 75. So before I get started in some of the content, just again want to give you a quick update on some of the news around the different Star Atlas projects I'm working on. First, again, if you'd like to be a guest on this podcast, definitely open to that. Please go to intergalacticherald.com, go to contact, and just please send me a quick message there. Additionally, I mentioned before, I do have the weekly news recap of all the news that came out from Star Atlas this week. So curating all the different content creators, video, articles, things like that. Go to intergalacticherald.com and look for news recap number 75. Two of the other projects I'm working on, one is a merch store for Star Atlas called Intergalactic Gear. That's intergalacticgear.com. Please go to that. And right now I'm at the phase where I'm looking for some feedback. So I have a merch survey up there. So if you'd fill that out, I'd greatly appreciate it. And it'll help me find more information about kind of different merchandise you guys would be interested in. And then next one is Intergalactic Coalition. This is a non-guild guild that I'm trying to get started. So I'm looking for, again, anybody interested in that. You can go to intergalacticcoalition.com. Nothing wrong with the current guilds that are in Star Atlas, but I'm just looking to try to organize one that's less structured. Basically, if you just want to hang out and chat about Star Atlas and play a game, that's what it's for. So not really organizing except for that. So again, please go to intergalacticcoalition.com and fill out the interest survey. So, topics of the week. Actually, there wasn't a lot announcements from Star Atlas. I have a feeling they're really working to get the Sage Labs out. So, the Atlas Brew this week was about lore for Star Atlas, or for Sage Lab. Not a lot of others. There were lots, of course, comments and things like that going back and forth, but kind of, the breaking news type of thing there wasn't. So, but there was one thing that came on in the Discord, Star Atlas Discord anyways, that I just kind of wanted to maybe touch on a little bit, was this concept of community. And part of it was because I'm trying to start my non-guild guild. And I hadn't really thought much, and I think it actually comes from your background where you've been exposed to it when we say community. In fact, actually, there was a tweet I think Star Atlas put out that the Star Atlas community was one of the most engaged ones of all the different Solana projects out there. And that's great. That's awesome. Kudos. Though, of course, I always wonder on surveys, what are the metrics and things like that. But that's not the point. The point was the word community. And so I think, again, we've talked about this. There's a Star Atlas community. And without defining the word community, we can more say, well, what is that? Well, it's basically everybody interested in Star Atlas. So whether that be people that check the Star Atlas Discord, people that have decided to organize into guilds for future gameplay, content creators, the builder program, again, probably it's because that's the community I feel like I'm sort of part of, trying to get my merch store off the ground. So I think, there's the overall watching community for sure, but then there are some smaller subsets, I guess you could say, of community. The guilds themselves definitely, to me, follow the definition of community. But I guess the point of this topic was to kind of just, I guess, maybe just realize that we can be part of a community, in this case, Star Atlas, not to get into politics or anything, but you could always say you were in a community of the people who live in the country you're in. But again, we call those countries, we don't call them communities. And again, the internet allows for the self-organizing across time zones, across international borders and things like that. So again, it's just kind of a weird, I don't know, it just came out of, different ways the community is organized. And I think there's the large community, but I guess I was more realizing there are lots of smaller communities, and they're communities too. So again, whether that's be guilds, maybe the different content creators who are doing YouTube videos or posting on Twitter or things like that, and then builders, and there's probably even more that I'm not mentioning, or again I'm not even familiar with, because again I'm just not interested in those things. So again, I just kind of just bring up the topic again, that community can mean a lot of different things, and it can mean a lot of different things to different people. And so I think we need to not necessarily have a clear way to define what is the communities or who's the community, but again, just to be aware that there are different different people's interests. Again, some people are probably, what was it, a few weeks back, politician, I guess, politician, but for Polis. I mean, that's a community too. I think I mentioned before, the DAO I'm glad it's there. I think it's a great concept, but again, I'm just not into the back and forth helping to come up with some governmental proposal that eventually be voted on the DAO. But again, I'm fascinated that Star Atlas has a game, a DAO, an economy, crypto, all that. So I'm glad they're all there. But again, I think, different people have different interests. So again, nothing, I guess, really to say there other than what I just said. So moving on to another topic. It was really cool in the Foundation room that someone posted, or I shouldn't say someone, Chipto, which again, I like to put screen names with people's names, and unfortunately I haven't done that yet with this gentleman. I'm pretty sure he's director of game design or lead game designer. Anyways, he put out a pretty interesting little post. So it was just a brief synopsis of all the different, and again, I'm going to put them in air quotes, games that have been released from Star Atlas. Now, I'm using the air quotes because I think a lot of people consider the game of Star Atlas to be the future UE5 AAA immersive VR, sit inside your ship, fly it with a or not even keyboard, but joysticks, wraparound screens, all that. That's has been, I think, for lots of people, that's the game. So some of the things that have already been released, some people could argue those aren't games. But again, I'm not going to get into those kind of semantics because I think the bigger picture is, again, Star Atlas is developing metaverse maybe is not the all-encompassing term it was, but definitely an ecosystem, of a lot of different things together. So, but I still found it very interesting because I came into Star Atlas, would have been winter, so December of 2001. So some of these actually predate my arrival into the game. So, the previous stuff like the poster release series and the initial selling of the ships, I didn't even know Star Atlas exists time. So anyways, moving on to this post, it wasn't really interesting, the ones that were brought out, but also the ones that were announced but never became. And then I think it's really interesting looking at when we are now in late August 2003, how things have morphed. So I'll just go over this just for people that don't have access. And I think Funcracker at AFIA says he's trying to work on a document too on this. So again, if you haven't signed up for the AFIA newsletter, please do. It's an excellent resource. I give a lot of thanks to them, or I think it's Funcracker. I'm not sure if there's others involved in putting it together, but it's a great resource. It comes out once a week, and then they create some really awesome guides. So again, I want to call them out as excellent sources of information. So to just go through again this kind of history of some of the gaming components or gaming efforts. First was Faction Fleet, which we still have today, aka SCORE. And again, I don't remember the exact acronym. Someone at Star Atlas, hopefully they're still there, didn't get laid off, is really good with acronyms and names. So that's the one we still have. And again, that came out in Q4 2021, December, which again is about when I got started. Then apparently there was something follow-up to SCORE called More, and I got to look this up. It's something called O-Game like, and I've heard references to O-Game, and I'm just not sure what that is, and I haven't spent the time to do it. But anyways, so that was quickly abandoned. Then was, CREAM, which stood for Crafting, Resource Extraction, and Mining, was going to be centered around claim stakes. And that was actually interesting because I don't remember at the time the concept of claim stakes being mentioned. But again, maybe some behind-the-scenes stuff, so I think that was really cool. But they said they actually changed their mind, decided to focus on ships in Q1 2021. So I think I remember hearing about that. The one I for sure remember was SCREAM, and apparently SCREAM is Ship, Combat, Rescue, Extraction, and Manufacturing. I guess all those acronyms add up. And that was actually, the idea was born late in Q1 2022. They're also looking at different game engines and landed on Play Canvas, which is the current technology used for the Sage release. Then Sage was actually just rebranding of SCREAM. I think I knew that. And Stage, again, stands for Star Atlas Golden Era. And that was when the game manual came out for Sage, and that was Q4 2022. So just putting those in context, we went from Faction Fleet SCORE, which came out in December 2021, to the game manuals for Sage coming out a year later. Again, it's now end of August 2003. So December's not here yet. Holidays aren't here. We're barely done with summer in the Northern Hemisphere. But again, it's kind of interesting. But I'm not meaning this as, oh yeah, they didn't release things, they didn't do things. I think this is really insightful for the natural progression of how a video game is developed. We just don't see this before. You see Destiny or Overwatch or Call of Duty or whatever, and it comes out at some point with some videos, some trailers, maybe announced at a gaming conference, and then more times than not, they're targeted for September, October release because they want to get in for the Christmas season or something like that. So we never see the before. And again, right or wrong, good or bad, Star Atlas is definitely being, and I do think, truly transparent. Now, again, they're not telling us every day what they're talking about or what they're thinking or whatever, but they are saying this. So again, many of these components were known to the community. They were announced. The acronyms came out, the changes came out, and things like that. I mean, the Sage manuals, we got to read them, if I remember correctly. Metaverse Nomads interviewed Crypto. Anyway, sorry. I got to look up people's names. Sorry. For like 3-hour live stream, and it was great. It was awesome. So again, just kind of putting that into context of that, we didn't know things. But moving on. So Sage the game manuals came out in December of 2022. Then we had faction claims, so the actual fact that those existed. Some history, again, I believe people who bought the posters got some of the faction claims as part of owning the posters before they actually released them. I didn't have I didn't have the original poster, so I didn't get those dropped. I bought posters later just for collection reasons. And then I bought a couple of claim stakes, especially after the R4 fixed pricing in the marketplace went away. So, but anyways, that's quarter 2 of this year. Then we had Sage Escape Velocity, so the first kind of thing that came out, and that again was quarter 2, 2003. And now we're looking at Sage Labs. Technically, I guess we're still in quarter 3, so that's there. And then we have the follow-up to Labs, which is going to be, again, Sage Starbase, which was also known as REC, or Resource Extraction Crafting. And that's going to be, again, the polished 3D interface as opposed to Sage Lab, which is the proof of concept. Yeah, proof of concepts, all the blockchain things. And then apparently after Sage Starbase, Sage REC, this time spelled with 2 C's, and the second C, so Resource Extraction Crafting, the second C is Combat, and that's currently in design and prototyping phase. So again, I think this is really fascinating to, one, obviously this is the future, or what's coming down the road with the Starbase and the Combat, but also looking back at some of the things. And I guess if we really wanted to kind of put this in the right context, this would all be the non-UE5 part of the game. Because again, the showroom has its own history of releases, its own where it's at now, where it's the next phase, and where its long-term development is. There was a quick aside. I just heard, I can't remember where it came out. Well, anyways, at some point, maybe it was a press announcement or something, that the CEO, Michael Wagner, mentioned how by being built on top of Solana and using it as sort of the quote-unquote game system, not engine. We always, I think, use game engine for graphics, but the game system that's the server. So all our things, our ownership of ships, our number of resources, now we're seeing positional things on a map, is all controlled or all stored on Solana. So the idea is that no matter what your interface, so whether again it's a web-based interface, a UE5 interface, a mobile app interface, the data is stored in one central repository on the Solana, being the Solana blockchain. So you can go back and forth between all of it. So again, everything's being developed. Everything's been in the past. So again, it was great to finally just see all this put together in one screen of Discord. So I wanted to just kind of comment on that. So Oh, and moving on to the next topic, actually about the UE5 game, there was something also posted in the Foundation Room. This one by Buntius. Again, gotta get these real names. But anyways, that's my problem. Anyways, that someone was asking, hey, how are we still on track for the next version of the showroom release 2.2? I think we're in 2.1 right now. And it was actually mentioned, everything's going good. They're taking the current ship configs that have been announced recently, integrating those into the real models, or again, I think those are now going hand in hand. You can't say you have a cargo space and then you don't actually put cargo physically in a volumetric shape in the ship. You can't just have virtual. This isn't, I won't get off of my Transformers scenes about how they go from jets to robots, but anyways, because the toys had to actually be the same size. Anyways, moving on. Sorry. Everything's looking good for the end of the year. But what I think was really interesting about this release 2.2 was the note, and maybe this was always a plan and I just hadn't picked up on it, that it's going to be, quote, a public build, meaning there's no staking necessary to get a play key. I think the key is you don't need a key. You could go into the Epic Store and download it. Of course, it's the freemium model, if you think about it, is you get the game, again, the UE5 version of whatever the showroom is at that point. But to really do much in there, you got to buy a ship. And then if you want to do, whatever the functionality that's coming out, you probably have to buy a ship. So again, it was mentioning there was no staking, no early access, no coming soon tag. But I think what was really interesting in this response or comment from Buntius was that it means the scrutiny is much higher. I'm just quoting now. So some of the factors that need to be perceived and adapted as we are getting close to release candidate. If it doesn't look good enough, it could hurt the project overall by releasing without the right amount of polish. And I thought that's really, really interesting that this could be the thing that you could actually say, yes, you can play Star Atlas. Now, again, I don't remember what the things, we've heard. And again, it's not that I'm saying they've changed their mind. I just haven't been following it because my personal philosophy is I'll figure out what it is when it comes out. Because again, I know all the aspects of Star Atlas under development, and I'm totally okay if something changes. Because again, we're getting insider information of the actual development cycle, and some things can't be done. Some things could have been done if they kept 150 people around, things like that. But the fact that, again, this 2.2 release of the UE5 game showroom is really intended for public consumption. And that does reach a higher bar. In Star Atlas Discord, you get people commenting and complaining about, did we 2 weeks or whatever. I mean, other gamers who heard about a game and can download the Epic Store and they start it up and it doesn't work, or what's the one? There's the experimental mode, which again is experimental, but I think there was a bug in the current version that you would spawn in the game like 2 feet under the floor or something like. Again, bugs, they're fine, but again, you'd have to have all that stuff polished away. I mean, yes, I know lots of games are released that are completely buggy for 2 to 3 months, but again, the gaming community, going back to my friend, gives those games a lot of grief over that, rightly so. I mean, they pushed out a buggy game. So, but again, just the idea that this is looking to actually kind of release. So, again, if you kind of think we have Sage Labs coming with maybe not the best interface, but something, then we'll immediately move to a better interface, or I shouldn't say immediately, then we'll move to a better interface, and then we'll move to having combat. And then again, whatever the interaction is in the UE5. So it is interesting sitting here again at the end of August, all the things we've dealt with in 2002, all those parts of the web browser game that's now called Sage, that nothing came out. Again, some showroom came out back in 2022, but we're in 2023. Again, we've had the FTX thing, which again, maybe in hindsight wasn't as big of a thing, but definitely the layoff of 2/3 or 3/4, whatever it was, of the staff and into a much longer lead time, whatever we're calling these things, runway of 12 to 18 months. I mean, could be sitting here on winter break, Christmas, holidays, New Year's, and 2 games. literally games are released from Star Atlas. And again, I'm not even adding in the mobile app, which was supposedly almost done too, which is a third game, fitness app, Move to Earn. That's kind of exciting. I'll admit it. And maybe it's partly being patient up to this point, and yeah, maybe they'll come up with something. But again, if they stay on track and they can release and the staffing reductions aren't hindrances to this, pretty cool. So, thoughts on that. Moving on. Oh, my thoughts on lore. The latest Atlas brew was about lore in Star Atlas. Hopefully I'm very consistent in saying this. I think it's great that there's so many aspects of Star Atlas. Again, metaverse, DAO, lore, game, tokens, investments, all that. I'm just not interested in lore. I'm sorry, guys. It's just not me. But I want to explain why. Because I think someone posted, and I didn't read the tweet long enough, so I don't want to misquote, but it was something about without lore, it's not a game, or lore is what makes the game fun, or something. And again, I didn't read the tweet, so I could be misquoting, so I'm not going to even say. But something about how lore is necessary. I guess for me personally, I play a game, even if it has lore, always from my perspective and my point of view. I'm the person in the game. So if it's an RTS, I'm the person deploying the armies and trying to capture the whatever, building my defenses. I use the word my because I feel like I'm the person playing, even though it exists inside of the lore. And again, this isn't a blanket statement. Lore kind of goes with these fantasy type of games. So World of Warcraft, one of the real-time strategy games I still like to play, or I still like, and I need to play the next version, is Company of Heroes. So you're somewhere in World War II fighting as one of the combatants, U.S., Germans, somebody, and you're developing squads and you're trying to take objectives. But I know I'm not a British fighter or an American fighter or German fighter. I mean, obviously it's not in World War II. Does it have lore? Well, no, I guess, right? Because it's history. But more my point is I never think of myself not as the commander of those troops. And so that's, I guess, how my game style has been. Now, again, I didn't play things like World of Warcraft, and maybe I would be much more into it. So again, just case I say anything in the future about why I'm not really into lore, that's why. And I think I may have mentioned again, I like comic books, but I just have no interest to read the comics, and it isn't even a question. I'm pretty sure we can get them for free, so it's not a question of money. But anyways, I'm glad it's there. I'm glad there's someone who's passionate about it, developing that, just like I'm glad somebody on Star Atlas team is passionate about the economy and the game design and the game construction and all the aspects. So again, I'm really there. I'm just not into lore. So a couple second to the last topic, since I was kind of talking about me, I thought, hey, what gameplay style do I like? So I think I've mentioned before, I come from real-time strategy. I mean, I played first-person shooters, but I was never that good. But they were still fun because you could play with friends. And again, I'm hoping there's components of that. But I was much more into the real-time strategy. So the economy, the mining resources, the crafting, building things, that's definitely appealing to me. But a lot of people are talking about, like, I'm going to be a pirate, or I'm going to be something else. Pirates appear to come up quite frequently in everybody. I don't know. Maybe I just don't hear more than in the Discord about people other than pirates. But anyways, so I think I am thinking about what kind of play style I'd like to do. And again, I'm going to call this the UE5 version, only because I think that's the version that'll have everything fully developed, where the mobile app and the web game probably have certain aspects. Maybe it's just because you can imagine yourself exploring space in a first-person view, where it's really hard to imagine exploring space in a top-down isometric view, or definitely on a mobile app. So, but this kind of goes back into, self-promotion here, the non-guild guild I'm trying to form, because I think there are some other people like me who are probably into this play style, because I think specific play styles and guilds go hand in hand. Obviously, pirate guilds, or I think there's shipbuilding guilds or rescue guilds, and that's great. And to really provide those services, you need a lot of people and you need a lot of resources. But What's the aspect for Star Atlas when you like solo campaigns in different games? Hopefully there's a play style, hopefully in Star Atlas now that we wrote. And again, if you listen to what the Star Atlas team says, there should be lots of unlimited. The game should be flexible enough to almost support any gameplay style. And if not, somebody can build it, apparently. So I was trying to figure out what it was, and the one that seems to come up easiest is Miner, because again, we're starting to mine asteroids, and we can buy mining ships, and we know there's transport ships. Again, these are non-combat, obviously. Maybe that's my style. I'm not really interested in tactical battles. I don't know. Like Star Trek, they have tactical battles. Like Star Wars, they have battles. I don't know. Again, there's no game, so this doesn't matter. Anyways, but recently I came up with a better word that I think kind of sounded more, because Miner makes sense. I also toy with Explorer, but Explorers never stop, especially if you think about Earth history. That's a weird way to say Earth history, but I guess it is human history. There were the ships that went out exploring different parts of the land that may or may not have been truly uninhabited. But again, we have the age of exploration, sailing ships and things like that. But it never seems like that's a stationary thing. Again, nothing wrong if you want to just explore. I think that's also the data runner role. Actually, that's something I realized. There are these roles in the Discord. I should go look that up. Anyways, okay. To-do topic, homework. The one I came up with, Pioneer, because I kept thinking, and again, I apologize, I'm located in the United States, so I have a historical context of colonization of the country that now is the United States, and I know there's lots of negativities about that, but again, those are the shows, those are the TVs, that was just here it is. Anyway, so we had Manifest Destiny, the Go Out West, things like that, and so there was this again idea you would go out and settle, and yes, I know their land wasn't free, but again, it's just a concept. I'm not talking about U.S. history here. You would be a pioneer. You would go out. You would be a settler. You'd get your land. You would work the land, develop something. People got together. There were towns. You'd trade goods, services, things like that. Anyways, so pioneer is something that's a word that's popped in my head this week. So I'm still trying to figure out exactly what it is. But again, we don't have a game yet, so can just think. But again, I like this idea of, you're kind of on your own. Hopefully you can become self-sufficient, get a claim stake, get your plot of land somewhere on a planet in Star Atlas, mine resources. And again, whether you build your own stuff or you trade it, again, there starts with, I guess, mining. So, but I don't know. I keep going back to miners or people that dug into the earth and brought stuff out. Anyways, I'm more of like, settler or pioneer. I don't know. Anyways. That's enough on that one. Last one, and I don't remember exactly where this came up, but I wrote down the question: Will it be fun? I think somebody posted something somewhere. Will this next release of Sage Labs be fun? And someone commented from the Star Atlas team. Again, I didn't screen cap it, so I don't have the context to quote it. But it was more like, well, it depends on what things you like. And I think that, again, wraps up a lot of the topics that I thought of this last week is, fun is obviously going to be different to everyone. Gameplay styles are going to be different. What you like in the game, whether it's, a lore or marketplace or DAO or whatever. Again, those are all the things. But I realized one thing, and this goes back to maybe a little, not a criticism of Score, because it is what it is, but you just click a button and you got to come back because there's timers. That's not fun. Again, it has a purpose, and I know why they're doing it, because questing and things like that to change, converting your time into some in-game reward. That's been around for a long time. But I just don't want this to feel like a job. I have a real job. I run a business. I try to do side businesses to do things. I have a family. Not that a family is a job. I mean, it's, should be treated like a job. It's family, but you guys, you all know what I mean. To me, video gaming was always escapism. It was always to get away. Even if I got frustrated because I got, killed earlier, blown up or whatever, the frustration wasn't there. And I guess there's a slight fear I have, if there is an economy and there's real world value, is this going to actually reduce the fun factor? Now, having said that, some people want to play it because there is real world value and there is an economy, and that's great too. This gaming can evolve and change, but again, fun, feeling like a job. Hopefully, we can have some fun. So I'll leave it at that type of thing. So to wrap up, again, just wanted to say thanks for listening. If you're ever interested in chatting on this podcast, again, I'd love to have guests on here, hoping to start an initiative to reach out to some community. There, I used it again. Some content creators. I'll use a subset. I'd like to reach out to some StarAtlas content creators, see if they'd be interested in coming on for an interview. Reach out to some people in the StarAtlas Build program, because I'd love to both promote their projects, but also learn more about what they're doing, because I hope that can also inspire other people to realize the opportunity they have with the StarAtlas Build program to have access to the StarAtlas IP and very good revenue sharing terms. I mean, again, if you make $1 million, you have to give them some to StarAtlas. That's an awesome problem to have. But up until then, you don't have to share it. I mean, again, it's awesome. So again, looking for podcast guests. So again, self-promotion. If you're interested in one quick way to keep up on all StarAtlas things, please subscribe to my news recap at intergalacticherald.com, where you'll get a list once a week on Sunday night to all the other content creators in the StarAtlas community. I'll use that one as the bigger picture. And then again, my two individual StarAtlas projects, merch store, intergalacticgear.com. Please fill out the merch survey that's there. Help me fine tune some of the products, hopefully to be able to sell to the community. And then Intergalactic Coalition, my non-guild guild, intergalacticcoalition.com. Have an interest survey. You can read more about what I'm trying to do, though I kind of alluded to some of the things. Basically, if you like some of the gameplay styles and you want to hang out and chat and you don't want to join a traditional guild, I'm hoping to make the Intergalactic Coalition a place you'd want to hang out. So again, thanks for listening. If you do find this on a podcast platform, love any reviews that you would be willing to give. If you want to reach out to me, again, go to intergalacticherald.com, fill out the contact form. I'm Intergalactic Herald within the StarAtlas Discord. And that's it. So thanks again. This is Matt with the Intergalactic Herald. Have a great rest of your week. Talk to you next week.